Sorry for the delay. There was some glitch that we were facing on a participant's end. But again, this is more than exciting. So I will quickly share with you all that the panel right now is going to be, from the most sought after stakeholder, which is, the investor, the VC, the accelerators. I think we have a combination of everyone that supports an entrepreneur early on in the journey. So the subject of today's discussion is demystifying investment trends as seen at Token 2049. And I'll give it to Manav, in the meantime. And then once Rajat is able to figure out his mic, he can take over from there. Manav, over to you. And I think I'll let you introduce everyone.
Thanks, Akshay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in. Even though we are in a decentralized world, working towards crypto and working towards a very high-tech space, we still are facing a lot of internet issues. So that's one problem. Any founder, be it in a crypto or non-crypto space, should be looking to, solve. Here, thank you guys for joining us. We have Parth here from Coinswitch, Kuber Ventures. We have UG here from Emootee, which is an Animoca-led accelerator, and Joseph Fu here from Montreal Network, Metareal Network, which is an angel network. So before we start, I would really like to give you all a chance to just talk about what you guys about yourself and about what your venture arm is doing, and exactly what you guys are looking at. So quick introduction will be great. Maybe we can start with UG, follow up with Parth, and then Joji.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for Akshay and being with me today. So I'm usually the general partner of Emootee, the Web3 fund based in Singapore, but I'm Japanese and our parent company is a listed mobile game company. So we were focusing on more consumer businesses in only Web3, including gamify, entertainment, media, lifestyle. And but recently we are getting interested in RWA and NFT finance. So we totally cover widely Asia. So from Singapore, of course, I participated in Token 2049 last year. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, UG. Parth, over to you.
So I had investments for Coinswitch Ventures. Coinswitch, as you might know, is one of India's leading exchanges. We have set up like a corporate VC last year with the idea of helping early stage Indian Web3 builders. So we are trying to look at projects which impact the India ecosystem. Coming in early, so pre-seed, seed rounds, and more than just capital, we try to help the startups in terms of getting the right partners on board, be it VCs or other ecosystem funds. Off to a good start, I would say, and trying to help as many startups as possible.
Thanks, Parth. Joe?
Hi, I'm not. Can folks hear me? I'm just trying to make sure I'm not muted.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Hi, folks. Definitely good to be here. Just coming off Token 2049. So I have an entity called a Metareal Network, or Metareal Network. So we're actually don't call ourselves a fund or a VC. So we're a small network of angels. Imagine a small investment DAO of about 12 operator angels, meaning that all of us have a full-time hat somewhere else. From there are VCs in our network. There are launch pads, folks from Nansen, folks from Asia, from Europe, from US. But it's really a small angel network. And then with my other full-time hat, which is I run a marketing team, and have done so for about 5 years, since 2018. And through that network, through that company, we've had about 80 plus clients and investments, all of which we've helped in Asia, more specifically China and Korea. But towards the really after 2020, we've also expanded to like India, Vietnam, Russia, and Turkey.
Thank you, Joe. Rajat, you want to give it a try? Maybe we all can hear you now. All right. While he's just trying to sort it out, what are you guys reading these days? Just before we start, let's just start on a lighter note. Anything in particular that you guys are reading which is exciting? Any book, any article?
So I won't call it like a light read, but The Joys of Compounding is one book that I recently started. Not a light read at all.
All right, that's nice. Yuji, what about you?
Also read any book, articles?
Yeah.
So not specifically, but I like the Balaji new one or some others. So network. What? So I forgot the name. So the network something.
Network State.
Network state.
Network
Yeah,
State.
yeah, yeah.
All right. That's
The other
nice.
one.
That's nice. All right. What about you, Joe?
I must say I don't have too much time to read books these days, but the two on my list is Principles by Ray Dalio and another book. It's I can't say the Russian name, but it's about a Russian prisoner in the Gulag.
Well, that sounds both of them are quite exciting. So I'm guessing if you don't have time, then you're going through a lot of decks. For any of the founders who are looking at investments, maybe Joe is, you can reach out to him and reach out to any of them with your decks. Anyways, moving on to our first question, guys. What were the key changes that you observed during, the conference Token 2049, which were not there earlier in one of the past conferences, or anyways, like from last year to this year, what are the key changes that you have seen change in the trends?
So I haven't attended the previous editions of Token, but I was recently at CoinFest Bali, and I would say the mood was a lot more I would say serious and institutional at Token, but yet there was like a lot of retail participation as well. But worth highlighting was traditional finance having its presence, or even more traditional firms like Google Cloud was there. They had like a full blown stock. Then index providers like CME had like a stall. Then Franklin Templeton CEO was on stage and she talked about the Bitcoin spot ETF. So the fact that institutions, the question is not no more like when are institutions coming. The institutions are already here and they're building in this space. Another like very key point to highlight, there were like more than 12,000 people, and yet I didn't have any discussions around price with anyone. It was like more focused on building and more focused on how the space is moving forward.
That's lovely. What about you, Yuji?
So first of all, Token 2049 was one of the biggest Asian conference this year, definitely. So also, as I said, first of all, Token 2049 is very diverse. The session covers all agendas, all categories. But I'm looking at the RWA. So because it's one of the good stuff, the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So that's why. So I saw some RWA related booths and related entrepreneurs and some other side events. It would be one of the big, point for the next bull market or next big wave. And also, so I saw some enterprise from global markets. For example, before Token 2049, the Sony announced their own blockchain. So that would be one of the good transition from the Web 2. So to bring more mass users to Web 3. That's one of the interesting part for me.
That's nice. What about you, Joe?
So for my part, I think specifically with investment trends, right, as part of this panel. So out of many observations on the investment side is, I think the one thing that I've seen is there's a bit of a chain war in terms of like just so many L1 and L2s. And I think pretty the last year and a half, this category has gotten a lot of the investments, even in a bear market. So I think we're kind of seeing that bubble up to the top at like a real life conference where they have the money to host like a builders day. They have the money to sponsor. They have the money to participate in the hackathons and give rewards. So, but again, that's what my team focuses on. We try to identify and help out a lot of the layer 1, layer 2s early on. So I really saw a lot of those. And I think so. That's observation number one. I think number two is on the flip side. We see a lot of the younger or more early stage projects that maybe raised a pre-seed or seed in the last year and a half. Like we see them struggling to raise, just because hey, we're further in a bear market, and VCs and funds and even angels are much more conservative now. So I know a lot of my contacts from US and Europe, either accelerators or projects that have raised a pre-seed, come here with the hopes of raising or lining up their next round of VCs. I've yet to catch up with all of them after to see how it went, but I see them. I think there's tons of VCs and funds in Singapore that came, but I think they'll continue to struggle. But yeah, like I said, I want to catch up with them over the next 2 weeks and probably circle back.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that I totally agree with you, Joe. And like again, funding's really dried up a lot. The due diligence cycles are longer. For anybody to complete like a fundraise, what used to probably take a month will take more than a quarter. So startups should be prepared to cut down on costs, reduce their burn, and try to extend runway as much as possible. That said, there is a lot of capital waiting on the sidelines to be deployed. So interesting projects or projects that get VC interest will still continue to raise even in the bear market.
Got it. So what was one trend that you think so is very hyped or was hyped during the conference?
I have two actually.
Yep.
One on the institutional side, which is the RWA tokenization piece. So real world asset tokenization, not necessarily in the previous cycle, it used to concern more around real estate or art. Now it has moved to financial instruments. So bonds, stocks, funds are what like people are looking at. Lots of actual on ground activities happening. Some big names like JP Morgan is looking at doing tokenized bank deposits. KKR has already tokenized a fund. So this theme has been really like seeing a lot of institutional interest, and we can see like a lot of institutional capital come in. On the flip side, on the retail side, SocialFi, I think with Friends.tech, it has sort of become very prominent and mainstream. How can your social networks be linked to DeFi? How can your interactions or the content that you create in a social circle, how can that be monetized better? That is definitely getting a lot of traction on the retail side of things.
What about you, Joe? What do you think so? Hype trends.
Simply, I think there's a lot of conversations, events, projects out of the ZK category. So, and we've seen that across all the other events we've been online and offline that I and my team have been involved with the past year, like starting from ETH Denver to ECC, now to ETH Singapore. There's always a ZK day. There's always ZK Sync and ZK EVM. There's a lot of activity. So I wouldn't say overhyped, but I think in Token 24/9 Singapore, not only did I meet a lot of the Western projects that came, and they all came, but also there were a lot of not local, but Asian ZK projects that I didn't see in US or Europe. So there's just tons of these projects, and I think they were able to capture some of the funding in the past 12 months because it was a hot category. But I think now there's going to be a lot of competition.
Nice. What about you, Eugene?
Oh, thank you. So the first one is the same as Pulse. Yeah, as I said, RWA. So interestingly, to add one thing, Singapore is basically getting strict for the crypto recently after Terra Luna shock. But some RWA companies or projects are working with the Singapore regulator very positively. and as well as Hong Kong or Dubai or some others. But not all developed countries are friendly for these RWA or tokenization. That's one of the very exciting point for me from Singapore. And the second one is we are also looking at many gaming category. So we invested in StepN at the PC round 1 year half ago. So it was incredible. But unfortunately, we haven't seen any other popular games after StepN and Axie Infinity. But the industry is differently being improved, so that their gaming quality is getting more higher quality. They are considering designing new tokenomics. So differentially, we will see the new games. So with a lot of gamers, the next year, that would be one of the great stuff for the bull market.
Have you seen any changes in the trends in terms of when it comes to social gaming? Have you seen any new trends coming in, even if they're not popular after Step In?
So the biggest change is I don't know if you know, but the idea of factory NFTs. So before Step In, so the normal users, the consumers will buy just one game NFTs or any ownership. But recently, if after Deji Daigaku, I will type it. Deji Daigaku is one of the gamified project. So they invented a new concept, kind of the factory NFTs. The Genesis NFT holder will generate next following NFT collections in the near future. That's a new ownership ideas. Probably that would be one of the common concept next year.
That's nice. That's nice. Parth, I understand you have to leave. I just have last question for everyone. Can you just share, which was one of the best startups or one of the interesting startups that you saw or met during the conference, and any advice that you have for young entrepreneurs, looking out there for funding, what advice you would have for them? This is for everyone. Parth, you can start since you have to leave. Follow with Yuji and then Joe.
So I would not go out and name one particular startup and upset the rest. But just for context, I think I met over 60 founders during the course of the 3-day event and the side events. So lots of on ground activities happening even in the bear market. People continue to build. The advice would be on similar lines as I mentioned before. What is happening right now is not just in crypto; it's a macro trend where VC funding has dried up in other sectors also, primarily driven by higher interest rates. When interest rates are higher, risk capital becomes a little more conservative in deployment. So wait for the interest rate cycle to turn, and crypto specific events like BTC halving or the spot ETF approval, these are going to be the triggers for the next investment cycle to start again. In the meanwhile, cut your costs as much as possible. Try to keep a low burn. Do not spend on anything which is not necessary. Try to build the product. Nobody's going to invest in projects just basis on white paper right now. It has to have an MVP ready. There has to be some traction that VCs can probably project from. That's my advice, and I will drop off now, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
It
you,
was a
Parth.
pleasure connecting.
Thank you, Parth.
Bye. Bye. Nice meeting you, G. Joe. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Joe, what about you? What was some interesting projects that you met and an advice for, budding entrepreneurs who are looking out there for funding or, going out there to raise funds?
So I'll say two things real quick. I was actually surprised in a good way that there are actually builders and developers out in Singapore. Just because I heard last year it was tons of funds and exchanges, no builders. So this year, actually pleasantly surprised. To get to the builders, we participated in 3 events. One was the Ethereum Singapore Hackathon. Then there was also the Zuzalu Hackathon, and then there were some VCs and accelerators brought out their projects in these cohorts, and we we're supporting one of them. So I think I don't have one that I want to like throw out there, but the ideas that I've liked that I've seen out there is there's still some interesting ideas around lending protocols and LSD-Fi. Obviously, that category is a bit overhyped right now, but I think there's just multiple chains to potentially grow that. Then there's another project that's trying to make code deployment a bit more efficient, meaning, for example, the account abstraction for wallets, right? That's something that's been talked about. It's up and coming. Each wallet, from what the devs tell me, that there will be each wallet will be a contract. So there will be some cost there to every wallet that gets created. So yeah, without getting I know we don't have much time, so without getting into too much detail, I think there's still a lot of these online, offline demo days and platforms such as hackathons and builder houses where devs can go to connect with at least angel investors like myself.
All right. Thank you, Joe. What about you, Eugene?
Oh, thank you. So we just announced a new investment during the Token 2049, the Helix. This is a RWA related project that they are providing tokenization of private credit in Southeast Asia. And that's very interesting for me that invested. So, and the advice is that, so we should focus on the product. So not just tokenomics. Tokenomics would empower your product, your ecosystem, community, but we should focus on the value. What valuable product we can provide. So RWA is very easy to understand. They can provide real value, real asset, with real assets, some US Treasury bill or private credit or real estate or some other assets. And the gaming side is that it would be more emotional values, the entertainment or social values, the interaction values. That's but anyway, so both sides are okay, but we should consider if we can provide valuable something to the customers or investors.
All right. Thank you, Eugene. Can you share your digits or email ID where people can reach out to you, or your Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever is convenient for you guys?
Yep. Wait a moment.
While they are sharing, thank you everyone. Thank you, Yuji. Thank you, Joe, for sharing your insights. It was very great to have you guys here. Over to you, Akshay.
Hey, thanks a lot, all three of you, and Parth. I think completely can relate to Yuji when he says that do not really focus just on tokenomics. I feel like there are two sides to, or probably more, but the two key sides to Web3 project is one, kind of what you look at majorly when you focus on startups, even in the Web2 space, which is products, traction, whether the problem that you're solving is relevant. Is it solving for convenience? Is it solving for problem? Is it solving probably for entertainment, right? So either that side or the other, where you focus on, tokens. So essentially, where does the product need the token to be utilized, right? It could also be just for token gating. But again, the more deeply integrated it is, the more useful it would be, right? Again, I relate a lot to what Path said about RWS. It was the most talked about possibly direction in the at the event. But again, this is also something that we've been seeing for the last 9 months. It's not like something news, but we were possibly expecting this to be a lot more hyped, followed by real traction. But that's not something that we've been able to see. So we've seen models that are variations to, pure play, assets on the blockchain versus, having derivatives of it, right? So I think a lot of that is exciting. But again, Joe, I would like to compliment you on mentioning Ray Dalio's principles. I think one of my favorite books, especially the work principles section of it. Again, thank you all for joining. We'll conclude this so that we can begin with our next session. Thanks again,
Thank you.
Okay.
Yuki. Thanks
Thank you very
again,
much.
Joe.
Thank you, guys.
And
Bye,
again,
guys.
Manav, that
Thank
improv
you.
See you
session.
next time.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Perfect.